Welcome everybody. I want to thank everyone that's here and for gathering with us this morning. I just kind of feel compelled to ask this question. Did anyone get stuck in traffic getting down here? Yeah, well, we already know the answer to that, and that's why we're here. Before I get started, I do want to introduce a few folks and some of our elected officials that are here with us and thank them for being here and being supportive of this launch of Transit for Austin. We're joined by State Representative Celia Israel. So now I have to start over? That's the first time that anyone has walked to a podium and actually raised the microphone. This is a big day. We're also joined by our County Judge, Sarah Eckhart. Austin Mayor Steve Adler. I'll introduce them as both council members and members of the Capital Metro Board, Councilmember Garza and Councilmember Ann Kitchen. We're joined by the President of the Austin Independent School District Board of Trustees, Geronimo Rodriguez. The Chair of Capital Metro's Board is here with us, and that's Wade Cooper. I want to say a thank you and welcome to the Board of Transit for Austin, John Langmore, Diana Limon Mercado, and Ashton Cumberbatch. And with the impeccable timing he always shows, County Commissioner Jim Trevilian. Folks, back in 1980, back a million years ago, actually it's not that long ago, but 1980, 585,000 people lived in the Austin area. 585,000. Now, there are 2 million people in the region, and many of them are stuck on I-35, 183, Mopac, and 360. Of the changes that we have seen in Central Texas, there has been one sure constant, and that is traffic hasn't gotten better, and it won't. Imagine what those roads will look like in 2025, in 2030, in 2040, in 2040 when population is expected to have doubled. It would simply be impossible, as well as a terrible idea, to rely solely on building new roads to accommodate that growth. Austin is a big city, however much we all might want to pretend otherwise. And it will get bigger, however much we want to pretend otherwise. We need a big city transit system that will get people out of their cars. We have got to think big. We've got to be smart. And we must be bold and act now. If we don't go big and do it soon, we're lost. The encouraging news is the fact that we're all here today. Everyone here knows how traffic can affect our families, our health, our environment. And everyone here is determined to get behind a high-capacity, rapid transit system that will serve our growing community and benefit all of us. So we're coming together under the banner Transit for Austin. The Transit for Austin Coalition is deep and it's wide. More than 50 community organizations have signed on to the coalition, as have businesses, individuals, and others. We represent a diverse array of interests, areas, and ideas, but we're all headed in the same direction. We're all headed toward the same goal. Mobility is tied to so many of the challenges our community is facing. Transit can help transform our future and change the path we're on. We've already been hard at work. We've talked to experts in regions of similar size to Austin, places like like Denver, Seattle, and Indianapolis. Denver, for example, Denver has 3 million people and 8 light rail lines, while the Austin area has 2 million people and 1 metro rail line. Austin has 2 metro rapid routes, and neither of them have dedicated pathways. Denver has 7 rapid transit routes, all in dedicated pathways. Denver and other peer cities have come to grips with traffic by designing a mix of transit services such as rail lines, dedicated bus lanes, and strategically placed transit hubs. Those cities that coalition members have visited, they've envied Austin's culture. Everybody looks at Austin and loves it. They've envied Austin's culture. They've envied the hill country and our strong jobs numbers. But the Austinites, they envy those transit systems. We're all proud of our community. We have very strong community values with great expectations for our future, as we should. So we're going to roll up our sleeves and make sure we get the transit system we want, making sure it meets the needs of the world we're going to face by 2040. We've got some very passionate members of the coalition known as Transit for Austin that are here with us today. And each one of them is going to talk about a different aspect of our coalition to give you a sense of just how committed we are to doing something bold for our region. So now I'd like to introduce Ashton Cumberbatch. As I indicated, he's a member of the Administrative Board of Transit for Austin, a longtime advocate and change maker in our community. Ashton?
No offense, Senator, but I may need to raise it just a little bit more. Thank you, Senator. Good morning. As he said, I am Ashton Cumberbatch, and I am a member of the Administrative Board for Transit Austin Coalition. And I'm encouraged to see so many familiar faces here in this place. But you know what? I am more energized to see so many new faces, new ideas, new input, new commitment that is quite needed if we're going to meet this challenge. And I think we will meet this challenge. As the Senator said, we are all headed in the same direction, and we can go farther together. Imagine with me a vibrant community that embraces business, growth, and the arts, while also constructing a world-class education infrastructure, institutional equity, racial, cultural, and religious inclusivity. Our city has grown to have a global footprint, but now imagine it's a place that also cares for its local carbon footprint, where people are both willing and excited to ride buses, trains, and bikes, and walk, because it's not only more efficient, but more equitable. I'm actually from such a place. It's New York City. Now keep your murmuring down a little bit. I know the city's far from perfect, but if I give it props for anything, it's its commitment to make it accessible, the ability for me to go from Queens to Manhattan safely and quickly every day from grades 7 to 12. And while doing so, place me in the midst of the city's rich diversity, harmoniously sitting side by side on our way to work, school, and play. And no, we don't need to try and be like New York, but we can glean wisdom from the Big Apple as we consider Austin's city limits. Look, the Lord sent my wife and I down here in 1979 to be part of the 500,000 that the Senator was talking about. And we arrived here without a car. And I can tell you that when we arrived, the public transit system was a clear indication of wealth, social status, and access. The buses seem to run almost exclusively east to west, moving individuals, people of color primarily, from East Lawson to West Lawson, parts of Tarrytown, Marconi's, and Northwest, to clean and vacuum housing in those areas. Real business people didn't take buses. They drove to work. My wife was treated by her colleagues at IBM as if she had 3 heads. Here was a systems engineer riding a bus or office at Chevy Chase, which is at 183 and I-35, and then walking, God forbid, in heels about a mile through tall grass and mud to get to her office. Well, over the last 40 years, Jennifer and I have worked and raised a family and saw a sprawling, vibrant city grow up around us. There aren't many cities in the country that dazzle visitors the way Austin does, but there is another tale to this city. one where equity is not king and too many people are not experiencing what U.S. News and World Report calls the #1 city to live in. Rather, they can confirm we are the #1 large metro area for economic segregation. And our lack of mobility options only exacerbate the known and felt inequities. For many, our traffic situation is not just annoying or discouraging, it is life-threatening. For many years, I worked at Ascension Seton, and I can tell you firsthand that access to healthcare doesn't just mean a ride in the ambulance. There are hundreds, countless of individuals even this week who have difficulty, if not impossibility, getting to the healthcare appointment because of the lack of mobility, inability to get to their prescriptions. And others will find barriers to their educational, artistic, and entrepreneurial dreams because of our inadequate mobility options. They all have similar stories to tell about how traffic can undermine their efforts to pursue their purpose and achieve good success. We're going to hear those stories over the coming months, and I'm both concerned and committed to everyone's story, not just those with the received seat at the table and those with the loudest voices, but particularly to those who have too long been silenced and silent. I'm very honored and humbled to play a role in bringing a high-capacity rapid transportation system to Austin and Central Texas. We will all learn a lot in the next year as we grow and become familiar with the issues and ultimately build one of the most valuable commodities a community can have, informed voters. Once again, we have an opportunity to get this right. We must and we will get it right. God has given us every good resource that we need. This is challenging, yes. This is exciting, yes. It's visionary, yes. But for many people in our community, it's life or death. Let's choose life. Thank you all for your presence this morning, and I hope and ask for your presence as we move forward. Now I'd like to introduce you to my friend, Angela DeHotos Hart, who has her own mobility story to tell.
Buenos dias. It sounded really easy to hold a baby on my hip doing this. We'll see how we pull it off. My name is Angela de Hoyos Hart. My husband and I work for General Motors on East Palmer Lane in North Austin. We both have great jobs, but our work commute is costing us precious family time. And thank you for your comments, Ashton, because traffic is affecting our health. Our son Joaquin here is only 9 months old, but he doesn't look like it. And he's already spent 14,000 minutes of his life strapped in his car seat, stuck in traffic. I've heard some babies love car rides, but Joaquin has very serious reflux, and a nearly hour-long commute twice a day is causing him to scream at the top of his lungs most of the way. It's torture for him and for us. We live and find new jobs closer to our home, or even try to move out of the community we love to avoid the torture of traffic. My mother currently watches Joaquin at her home, so I can continue to breastfeed him in the afternoons, but we're desperate to find other transportation options to avoid the time we spend in the car each day. The stress we endure stuck in traffic is one thing, but we also know that Austin traffic congestion denies Joaquin the health benefits of breastfeeding as I look for care closer to work and are impeded by traffic. Benefits like boosting his immune system, brain development, and important baby-mom bonding time, just to name a few. In addition to negatively impacting our physical and mental health, Austin traffic leaves a time apart as a family by about 160 hours a year. That's 160 hours we could spend riding bikes, blowing bubbles, swimming, or just getting through the frenzy of household chores and dishes without costing us time at work and potential career advancement, which he's very concerned about. So this is why we're here today. We stand with Transit for Austin. We have to lay the critical community groundwork to bring a smart investment that will build us more options to connect better jobs, affordable housing, education, healthcare, commerce, and fight climate change. We need to do the right thing for our community, and of course, for Joaquin.
Thank you, Angie, for that story. Good morning. My name is Jeremy Hendricks. I'm with the Laborers International Union of North America. With over 1,000 members in Central Texas, our hardworking laborers are proud to endorse and join this broad, diverse grassroots coalition to bring awareness to the desperate need for a world-class transit system for our world-class city. The Laborers Union represents construction workers who have helped shape the skyline, and our ever-growing skyline continues to grow. But unfortunately, most of them are unable to live in the city where they work. Sadly, the men and women that build this city and keep it running are the ones most often stuck in traffic for hours away from their families, often making their way to a second job to make ends meet and scrape enough money together to get gas money to go do it all over again the next day. We can and must do better. We must build a creative regional transit solution that serves the needs of working people that have been edged out by rising housing costs. We must make significant investments in real transportation options that connect people to better jobs, affordable housing, education, healthcare, and takes cars off the roads to help save our ailing planet. I'm also an officer with the Central Texas Building and Trades Council, and I appreciate my brothers and sisters being here from those unions that represent building and mechanical construction trade unions. With nearly 10,000 members in Central Texas, we are also proud to join this coalition because all of our members struggle with traffic congestion problems and have unfortunately become synonymous with Austin just as much as live music or breakfast tacos. We also support this effort because we know this will be a good jobs generator for construction workers to get living wages, the promise of a safe job site, skills and safety training that leads to family supporting careers. So simply put, this is good for jobs, it's good for a transit system, but it's all a win-win situation for workers, business, and all the people that love to call Austin Central Texas home. Thank you very much, and now I'd like to introduce Nora Limnode S. Miller with the with Housing Works, the Executive Director. Thank you.
If you ask anyone on the street today, what are the two most pressing issues that Austinites face, they will say transportation and affordable housing. And despite how very different these two concepts and issues may seem, they are interconnected and the two aspects of our life that are the most costly. When someone can't find affordable housing in our city, what happens? They move to the outskirts just to find an affordable place to live. They spend more time and money getting to and from work, leaving less of their income to spend on housing, and putting another car on our already crowded highways. By being forced to move further away, individuals and families have increased their personal cost of travel, they're releasing additional CO2 emissions, and they've added to the congestion they have to face every day on their commute. At Housing Works, we want to see this cycle stop. We want to see major improvements along our transit corridors. We want affordable housing added near transit lines so our lower and middle income neighbors can access public transportation. We want a land development code that incentivizes developers to put deeply affordable housing next to the things like bus lines, rail stops, and bike sharing options. But most of all, we want our city to be more affordable. And the way we do that is not just through providing more affordable housing, but by also increasing our public transit system so we can lessen how much time and money we spend on our commutes. Join Housing Works to make Austin a better place to live, work, and play by making it easier to get around town. Support Transit for Austin and join our growing coalition. Ashton and Angela have made the case for healthcare and the quality of life. Jeremy has made the case for job creation. I hope I've made the case for affordable housing. Now, to talk about the air we breathe, the water we drink, and why it's still nearly 100 degrees on the last day of September, and what we can do about it, I want to introduce Luke Metzger from Environment Texas.
Good morning. A week and a half ago, hundreds of Austin students walked out of school to join with millions of other people across the world to demand urgent action to tackle the climate crisis and preserve a livable planet for their futures. We must heed their call. Transportation is this country's #1 source of climate change pollution. Greenhouse gas emissions from vehicles surpass every single other source. We can't solve global warming without changing how Americans get around. Austin is a national leader in the fight against climate change. More than half of our electricity comes from wind and solar power. Our homes are being built efficiently, and curbside pickup of compost is rolling out. But the truth is we're far behind other cities on cleaning up our transportation sector. Despite the disagreement and dysfunction at the federal level, we have a great opportunity here in Central Texas to transform our transportation. Public transportation reduces driving and thereby reduces emissions. On average, public transportation produces half the greenhouse gas emissions per passenger mile than private vehicles. And as Austin is converting to all electric buses, the pollution reduction will be even greater. It's been shown that public transportation can also facilitate trip chaining, which further reduces driving emissions. That's when folks combine other errands like picking up dry cleaning and shopping on their way home from the transit station. A report by Cambridge Systematics found that combining public transportation with better land use could reduce U.S. transportation greenhouse gas emissions by 15%. Environment Texas is excited and proud to be a member of Transit for Austin alongside other local environmental groups, including TextBird, Students for Transit, and Clean Water Action. And we are honored to join hands with everyone here today to create a regional transportation system that will move our citizens and protect our environment. Thank you.
Thanks a lot to all of our speakers. Thank you, Luke. Before I close, I want to say thank you to Margaret Justice. She's been key in putting this coalition together. As you can see, it is a large coalition and it is growing. But I want to say thank you, Margaret. So what is Transit for Austin asking of you? What are we asking of our city's people? What are we asking of our community? Well, that's a very simple answer. We want you to join the discussion. Get familiar with the issues. Figure out what's the best plan from your point of view. The more you learn about transportation, the more you'll come to realize there are misrepresentations all over the place, starting with the notion of that it's an either-or discussion. Either rail or roads, either roads or rail, either trains or buses, my way and not your way but not my way or no way. It's past time just to say no. It's time to go. The best way to make sure we get this right is to have a full community conversation that's informed and engaged. And that's what we plan to do with Transit for Austin. We plan to educate and we plan to engage. We plan to be a resource and a sounding board. And I want to say thank you to all of the people that have joined us here today. They are already engaged and they want to see us do better. If you'd like to join Transit for Austin, we'd love to have you on our team. More than anything, we want you to realize it's too late to do nothing. We're all encouraging you, think big, be bold, and act now. Thank you all for being here. Let's get going.